Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the movie review show. I'm Faizel.
I'm Brandon Rhinus.
How are you guys doing? I almost said I'm Brandon for a second while we were doing the intro. Honestly, I kind of wish I had, and then I just gone like, and who are you today?
I get us mixed up sometimes. Like, am I Faizel or am I Brandon? Yeah.
What are we reviewing today, Brandon?
Today we're continuing in our line of Predator movie reviews, and we are on to the fifth installment, which is called Prey, and it came out 2022, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right, 2022. I have the page open here that I can look. August of 2022.
And this one has the distinction of being filmed in Alberta, where we both live, and a lot of people we know worked on that movie.
Right in our own backyard. Like in Calgary, a lot of people were like extras in it and stunt doubles and like do you know, and this is the thing that I guess is the first thing I think, because I've been working in film, quote unquote, for a while. But when Prey came to town, which I'm gonna say 2018 is the first time I remember hearing about Prey. And what I remember hearing was through a wardrobe person that they had a standing order on any leather coming into Alberta, specifically because they were making so many moccasins from scratch that they were buying up entire like stocks of leather and then making these moccasins, and they just kept having to buy it. And like that was the first time I became aware of the phenomenon of like you're a small town and a production company comes to town to shoot a movie set in a small town and they just take shit over because like production crews can be all bigger than small towns in some aspects.
No, I don't think they're bigger than Calgary, but
But like the smaller like Sheerness, so there's some small towns in
yeah,
Alberta.
yeah, they were shooting in
Can you
some.
imagine an entire movie crew descends in on this town and is just like setting up like just setting themselves up and like hitting the bar every night?
Yeah, yeah, it was. I remember it being a pretty big deal when it was here. So I
Gold.
guess to get
First
down
time.
to it, what did you think of it?
I loved it. I loved it the first time I saw it. I loved it the second time I saw it. I loved it the fifth time I saw it, which is the time to prepare for this review. I really liked like the story. I liked how little they spoke during the movie. I liked that it was like they used everything. How to put this? Like everything was used with a purpose. I think I heard a review recently of The Godfather, and someone talked about how The Godfather, each scene leads you to the next scene. There's no wasted scenes that don't lead anywhere. Everything leads to the next thing, to the next thing. That's how I feel about Prey. Like there's nothing wasted there. Each sentence is information you're given. Each look, each everything is just like given to you with a purpose.
Yeah, I think that's a good critique. I would say I loved it. I would say I liked it. It was
Yeah.
like very well done. Like the, I hate to pick it apart
No, but
because,
this is the show.
and honestly, I would only do this because this is a critique show. So it's like, hey, I'll point out the things that are bad. But it honestly, like I do, like it was very well done. Like it was well acted. Story was cool. Cinematography was friggin' phenomenal. Like the sets look good. Like you tell they put a lot of work into it. So I like, if I had to give a thumbs up or thumbs down, clearly thumbs up. But since we got to talk about something, we may as well get into it. So I'm gonna, point out some of the things that, kind of that I know. I made my little notes here. Just things that I noticed that, know,
Irked you to a certain degree.
yeah. Um, one being like it took for freaking ever to get started.
It did, and it went through two names, right? It was Skulls first before it was Prey. Oh, you mean the actual movie?
No, like, yeah, I mean like the
Okay.
story takes so long. Like in the first movie, it was like bam, the dudes land. It's like here's your mission. Within like 2 minutes, they're flying there. Like it happens fast.
Whereas this, they spend a lot more time with the main character, like
Yeah,
her growth,
which
essentially.
is I know they say like in script writing courses, you got to develop the characters and make people care and blah blah blah. But you could do that while having cool stuff happening. It just like but the thing is like the acting was good, cinematography was stunning, like the just the scenery. It's
But the
like
first
it
half wasn't a Predator movie, essentially.
yeah, the
I could
first
see
40 minutes was like a nature documentary of how freaking awesome Alberta looks. Which
that.
it is like it looks like a nature documentary for some of it. It's like wow, that is
Yeah.
like beautiful cinema. Like it's very well done, which is cool the first time you're watching it, but after subsequent views, after you've seen it multiple times, it's like okay, I kind of want to just skip to the Predator stuff. And they have what's her name? Noru. What's the character's name? Or what is it?
Oh, I forget. Man, Amber Midthunder.
Naru. Yeah,
Yeah.
Naru is her character's name. And there's just so many things with like her versus the cougar, and then there's like the wolf chasing the rabbit part, and then there's the predator fighting the wolf, and then there's the bear fighting Naru, and then there's the bear fighting the predator. It just seems like they find every way they can to just not have predator
Naru.
fighting humans, which is kind of what I want to see.
That's fair enough. I get that. And like, yeah, that must have like it's more about like how long it took to get that shot of the wolf eating the rabbit than it is the out. Like it looks cool, but like I get it. There's no like drive to it. I don't really
Yeah,
care that much. I want to see the predator wrecking shit.
yeah, it's like and like the predator fighting a bear or fighting a wolf, like it's kind of cool. But I would have rather see him fighting the Native American people, because that's what the premise of the movie is, right? Is them with like primitive weapons fighting this predator. And it's like it just seems like they're trying to hold off on that for so long to the point where it's like yeah, if I watch the movie again, I'm skipping all of that to get to the good stuff. Whereas Predator 1 and Predator 2, like it just starts right off the first
Right off the bat. Yeah, they're
instantly.
basically, especially Predator 2. Predator 2 is the one that takes that to that final level where
Yeah.
they get as crazy as they can right off the bat.
And you could still develop characters and make them interesting and all that while other stuff is going on, like it's fine. But so that's one thing that bothered me. And some other things were small technical things that I didn't notice it the first time I watched it, but the second time
Mhm.
is the sound design is almost so good and they put so much effort into it that it becomes noticeable. And once I noticed it, it was so distracting that like every slight motion
Oh,
is
I get
like
you.
50 layers of sound in it. And as soon as I pointed that out to my buddy Adam, and now it's like, well, now I'm noticing it in everything, like every
Yeah.
step, every
Why
move of
is
the
there a
arm.
bird tweeting every like
Yeah.
5 seconds or something?
And
That's
it's
fair. Those are the kinds of things that'll take you out of a movie entirely because like you suddenly become so aware that all of this is constructed and like the whole rest of it falls apart at that point.
and even the predator when you first hear him roar,
Hmm.
it's not just like it doesn't sound like an animal roar, which it
It's
should.
layered.
There's layers, but and there's just there's like 50 different layers in there, and it's like why does he? It sounds like Hollywood sound design. It doesn't sound like an animal or a
A
creature.
monster.
And then
That's fair.
every time there's blood, they have not only the squishing blood sound, which is kind of annoying, but they have the like blood splatter on the ground.
Yeah.
And once you notice it, and of course that happens like 1,000 times in the movie. And as soon as I started noticing it, it's like I can't. It's like I can't even pay attention because it's like happening so much.
I
And
guess
it's
because it's just so sterile, would you say that's part of what's distracting to you is because it was probably like recorded in a pristine recording room
yeah,
with no other background sound and they're getting like the perfect recording and then they're putting the perfect recording amongst these other perfect recordings so everything feels real but it also feels sterile. Am I getting
yeah,
that?
it's completely sterile. It should have been a simpler, quieter movie. It's like that might work for like a Transformers movie where it's so visually loud and fast. But for a movie like this, where it's slower, it's beautifully shot,
That's
and
very
then
interesting. You would have liked way more silence, huh? You would have liked way more like shots of like no sound, but the same visuals and
I
the
wouldn't
same.
say no sound. I would just say like simpler sound.
Okay,
Um, it just the fact like I'm not a sound person at all. Like for our movies, like I hire someone to do
of
that.
course.
But just the fact that I noticed that and I don't think I've ever really noticed it in another movie, but this one, something bothered me about it.
Well,
Uh,
'cause I have to say, sometimes when I make make a film, like the couple of times I've made a video project, I'm always torn on how much sound design to do and how much sound design not to do. Do you know what I mean? Because like you can put sound design in there sometimes that'll like really elevate the film, but then sometimes the film is super elevated if you don't have any of that sound design and you just let the strength of what you shot speak for itself.
yeah, exactly. And there's times too where the simpler option, like in Grotesque, where we chop Marilyn's ankle off with the axe.
Yep.
I remember like I think Gallagher put in some sort of effect in there, and it didn't quite work. And I was like, you know what? I think just the natural sound that we picked up on set of just the axe burying. Of course, we didn't really hit an ankle; we just hit the dirt. Like that dirt sound sounded better. So like, let's just keep
Well,
the
and that's
natural
Foley
sound.
design actually. Now that you mention it, because like yeah, I because Foley design involves going out into the world and getting that like we can go down a rabbit hole like this forever, but like I'm very fascinated in what is the sound of silence because I don't know if that necessarily exists. There's all sorts of sound experiments that have been done to be like, what does a completely silent thing sound like? And if you're recording your Foley in a pristine, clean sound room, that sound of silence is also recorded into your recordings. Like you feel that for obviously you did feel that pristineness, that cleanness.
Yeah,
Whereas if you'd gone outside and recorded it with atmosphere, like in the atmosphere that they were in Calgary outside, if they'd gone and like swung a couple of axes at some things, it would have been less noticeable.
yeah, I don't know, like I don't know how to solve the problem. Like I said, I'm not a sound person,
No,
but
no,
it's
no.
one of those things like editing where like you're not supposed to notice it. Like you're not supposed to be watching this and be like as a regular person and be like, this sound design is so good, you know, like you're supposed to just watch the movie. So if you start noticing it, it's like they were just trying to like show off and make impressive work, which they did. Like it was good job, but it's like they just turned it up to 11
But
and
I
it kind
think
of like wasn't serving the story.
I think you're very right in terms of like this isn't that kind of movie because on the opposite side of the coin, I saw the new Mad Max, and that sound design was also really noticeable, but in a way that made it more enjoyable. And I think you're right because it was so high octane, like action packed, like super fast cuts, bah, 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 that extra sound design, that extra punch in there made me be like, whoa, I'm in this. Whereas like with Prey, it's a more quieter, more meditative movie, so it doesn't need all those extra bells and whistles. It needs to be about the meditation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was like a part where he's the predator in Prey. There's a part where the predator is killing all the French hunters, and you know even just little things like he'll pin a guy against a tree, and then the predator like tosses up his little axe, and his axe does like a spin, and there's this like whoosh sound, and but that's like with a bunch of
But
other
you
stuff.
know that whoosh sound isn't there. Someone pushed that
Yeah,
whoosh sound
and
in.
it's like
Like
they
that
didn't
doesn't.
need that. Like it's just like every little bit, and then it's like then he hits him, and the ka-chunk sound is like way over the top, and then the blood squirting sound effect, and then the blood dripping on the ground sound effect. It was just like
Well,
yeah,
and
all
this
of a
movie's been
sudden
in production forever. Like I mentioned before, I think I'd first heard about it in 2018. So yeah, they've probably been working on it and like fine tuning it, which again, like you can fine tune your product into being a bad product at one point, I guess.
yeah, it's almost like they just overdid it. And I can't think of a single other movie where I've ever noticed like
The
sound
sound
problems
design.
before.
Were
Um,
you were you a fan of the director's other films? He did 10 Cloverfield Lane before this. I don't know if you've seen that one.
yeah, yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I
That
like
one
that.
was really good. I think
Yeah,
like it's always surprising to me when like directors pop up and do these big name films and like get handed these big franchises. Because like his discography is basically 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was a I didn't realize it was a franchise, but I guess it is a franchise.
yeah.
And Prey. And his next film is the next Predator movie that's coming up. But
Oh,
he has two giant franchises that he's been able to make entries
that's
in.
good for him.
Yeah, like wild. I wonder how you do that.
Yeah, I always kind of wonder where like someone's first like IMDb credit is a massive Hollywood movie. So it's like this guy was like you
Just
know, he
bumping
played
around somehow.
or he was like a dentist up it, and then they're like, "Hey, do you want to make a movie? Sure. Here's your first multi-million-dollar movie." It's like, did he have any practice? Like the
No,
rest of us have
learn
made
on the
short
job.
films, and
Yeah,
uh,
his IMDb has 8 projects total.
mine has like 53. Where's my Hollywood movie? I've owed
I
like
know they
I've
should be
owed like
handing
12
you
of
a
them.
goddamn franchise. You have like 3 of them.
Give me I don't know what.
Where would you set the next Predator movie? Where, because the
Uh,
next one is Badlands, that's in the Old
yeah.
West. So Disney comes to you and they're like, Brandon, we're giving you the next Predator. Where are you setting the next Predator?
I I've always kind of thought about that. I always thought it'd be cool to have one on like a pirate ship. I don't know if that would
I
work.
was thinking on that same level, but I guess the one problem is depending on your story, you're limited in location because you have to stay on that pirate ship unless they dock somewhere or something.
Yeah, it would take some, some development for sure. I think that'd be cool. Obviously, like something during World War II, like would be cool. I also heard I can't remember the story, but it was basically some sort of like British settlers. It would have might have been the same time as Prey, but they came over from England or whatever. They're trying to find somewhere to live, and basically they all just like vanished, and no one ever figured out what happened
Oh,
to
like
them.
the Donner Party or something?
It wasn't the Donner part, but it was some similar story from history where they
Interesting.
mysteriously
Yeah, so
vanished.
you'd look for like a ex existing historical mystery and add
Yeah,
some Predator in
and it's
there.
like this is what happened is the Predator got him. Um, I think
That would be really good.
it was kind of cool. Like the thing about Prey is like I liked that they took it to a different time because we've done the modern day with machine guns enough. So it's like okay, that was
And
good,
then
but
we
now
went to their world. So like now I do like that they're going through time because, and I think I may have mentioned this in the previous episode, but I like the idea that like the predator has always been around since caveman times and they just keep coming back to like this is the hunting ground. And
yeah
so I like that they're taking that and like being like, all right, well, let's just because there's so many interest, especially Predator Badlands. I'm excited for that because there's so many interesting scenarios that you can find in the Old West, and then you add a predator onto that.
yeah yeah. It's like how do you fight the Predator if you don't have firearms basically? It'd be a lot harder. And it's like, I mean, by the Old West, they had firearms, but it was more primitive. But it was just like how would this time and culture deal with this threat? Um, and that's why I kind of like the more like the old well in our world the older Predator movies, which took place further in the future. By that time, we had the technology to quickly pick up the predators, like their approach, and we also have the ability to fight them because we just have more modern technology, whereas back then they didn't. So it kind of they're honestly like you could make a million predator stories in every part of Earth at any point in history. We could have Genghis Khan versus the
Versus
Predator,
the predator, that'd be so cool.
just anything, um, you know, ancient Rome versus Predator. I mean, like there's tons of
I kind of liked when you said
stories.
World War II. I'd like to see like in my head, I like imagining like World War I in like deep Africa where like the World War I is raging and then the predator shows up and just starts picking people off. Like that'd be cool as hell. Were you aware that there's a Comanche version of Prey?
Is it is it like a different movie or is it just dubbed in that
They
way?
dubbed it over in Comanche.
Yeah, I think it might even be on the DVD. Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch that. I have it and I haven't watched it yet, but I feel like, do you feel like it would be different in Comanche or do you think it would have the same effect essentially?
I think it would have mostly the same effect. I think the experience of watching it would be different. Um, I just I think that's cool they did that. It's just I don't speak that language, so
No, that's totally
it
fair.
would just be like even watching the subtitles. I might be one of the few people in the world that like I know you're supposed to like the watching foreign movies and they're with English subtitle. I sometimes like it when they're dubbed because that's like those like all the Asian martial arts movies and action
Yep.
movies.
Or
Part of
anime.
their
That's a big argument in anime is dub or sub, right?
Yeah, but like I think part of the charm is the crappy dubbing of it. It's kind of what makes them
Sometimes
good.
some of those animes have like some of the funniest dubbing. Oh man.
But
I
it
mean,
makes it better, I
I
find.
watch English movies with subtitles too, though, because like sometimes I just like having being able to read it.
Yeah. I think
but
it's
I do
kind of cool though,
understand.
because that was obviously like it's like why are they speaking English, right? They probably wouldn't have spoken it, but they kind of have to because the movie's being released to American audience. It's kind of like why in Star Wars, in Star Wars they speak English.
But I
They
do
wouldn't
like
speak
that
that
they
in
had
enemy planet, but you
I
know,
do like that they had enough forethought, and maybe this is blessing and a curse because I think it what you were describing is also a symptom of that same forethought. But I do like that they had the forethought to be like, we're gonna plan to like dub this in Comanche because then you obviously have to make allowances for what you're gonna dub in, dub out, and all that. So like I like that they gave that consideration during production, but that attention to detail also led to its like you said, the sound is just too pristine.
it's even though like I haven't noticed that problem in a lot in other Hollywood movies, but it's one of those things. I even noticed a bit in like modern music where it's like the technology's so good that it's not as good. Like you kind of want it to be a bit rough and dirty. It kind of makes it better when everything's too polished and too perfect. It's like I don't
And
know. I
to
just
your
don't
point,
like
I
it.
think there's a resurgence in the music community of using these old analog recording
Yeah,
techniques, equipment, because you just get a sound out of that.
it's like we don't want perfection. Like perfection,
No,
not It's like maybe if you're getting open heart surgery, yeah, I want perfection. If you're watching a movie, like I want it to be a bit rough. Like
I
I
want it
like,
to feel human. That's the
yeah,
big thing.
feel human.
I'm big into drum machines, and the big thing about drum machines that people will always complain about is there's no swing. Like when you program a pattern, that's the pattern. It happens every time like that. But if a
Yeah,
drummer plays a pattern, there's that level of swing that you have in there that you can play with in jazz and such they play with, where like you're human. You're not your timing isn't going to be perfect, and you can exploit that timing to make your what you're doing better.
yeah. It's one of those things. Like just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, and you don't have to show off with it. Like these are the effects and stuff you have in your toolbox. Like and obviously this movie overall, like it didn't abuse that kind of thing, but there's like
No, no, no.
Michael Bay movies where it's like every second is like how much CGI and bullshit can we put in every shot, and it's just like like a brain's
Yeah,
gonna
don't blink or
explode.
you'll miss the 6,000 things that are happening on the
Yeah,
screen. I mean, and to your point, the production design on this was very sparse and very like there's not a lot of things to grab your attention on the frame. You're looking at what you're meant to be looking at.
yeah, it was like a simpler done movie, but if you kind of like pay attention to like the sets,
Compared
it's
to
like
like
they look
Predator
good.
2. Compared to
Yeah,
Predator 2, everything is so blown out and cartoony and like there's like drugs and gold bars on the table and stuff.
yeah, there's just more. It's a different kind of movie, but
It
like
is.
the tribe, their teepees and stuff, like their little set. It's like, wow, that looks cool. And I'm assuming they put research into it and it's historically accurate. And then they go to like the French hunters like little camping area, and it's like you could tell they put effort into like set decking this nicely, but it's not over the top. They didn't throw everything into it. It's more sparsely done, but it makes it kind of more realistic. And that's why I noticed the
The
sound
sound.
is because it's like that's the only thing that they put too much of in, and everything else was like very sparsely but accurately done.
That makes sense. So you're going with a with an 8? Is that what I'm picking up? Like
I
you're
would
going.
say honestly, I would say 6.8.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
it's
All right.
there's a few other story things I wanted to bring
Yeah,
up
yeah,
that
please.
didn't quite make
Please.
sense. One was it seemed like they were trying to they had the whole like evil French hunters, who are like they
Mhm.
kind of went that angle. They had that part with all the skinned buffalo, and then the predator kind of stumbles upon it, and he's like as a fellow hunter, this disgusts me. But it doesn't make sense because the freaking predator literally skins humans and leaves their
Yeah.
arms behind. So it's like
Yeah,
now they're
I
and
agree.
he's like a good guy. It's like
They
that doesn't.
did kind of add morality into the Predator where there doesn't need to be any morality.
Yeah, he does, and also like the whole thing, they kind of the whole it's been set up in other movies where like he won't kill you if like you're unarmed because you're not a
Yep,
threat.
yep.
And in this one, the main character Naru even tells her buddy like he won't kill you if you're unarmed because my foot was in the trap and he came up and he let me go. But then friggin' 20 minutes later, there's that French guy who's like missing his leg, who's completely unarmed. And then the predator comes up and kills him. And it's like, did they
I
not?
think they were trying to put it to that, like, that's that same, like, he doesn't respect those guys, and that's why he
Yeah.
thinks it's fine. But I agree, like, they left more morality in there than they should have.
I just don't think that the predator, he's not from our world. He doesn't care about our
His
moral
rule, our
problems.
rules are not his rules, and like, yeah, all of that. Like, I agree.
Yeah, so that kind of bothered me. I did like the three like the laser thing that he had, like instead of it being the blue cannon, it
Oh
was
yeah,
like
it
the
was the
three
like
laser
triple
dots and
dot
they move
thing.
around
Yeah.
and they shoot the little like metal bolts. Um Although at the same time that does bring up the question, it doesn't quite make sense, is that like I know this is like 200-300 years ago, but the predators still have the ability for like intergalactic space travel. So why would their technology be that much behind, right?
I mean, maybe they don't experience time in the same way. And like we're getting metaphysical at this point, but like I just took it as like they travel space and time. So like I don't know if the Predator necessarily knows that he's like old time West. He just knows he's on Earth.
That's a possibility. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it could be a possibility. Oh yeah, and there were honestly there were some cool kills in this, like when
There's some really cool kills in this.
the part where like the predator shoots the net at that guy,
Yeah.
and then it like squishes him like over those logs. Like that was pretty cool.
That
Um,
those kinds of kills always take me back to Friday the 13th. I think that's the first time I ever saw something like that where like there was a leather belt and someone was twisting it against a tree and like they kept twisting until the leather belt snapped. Like
yeah,
those
part
types of
five.
kills were yeah, yeah. Yeah, that those types of kills where someone's against something and they just get squeezed like oh, those are nasty.
Yeah, and there were a lot of great shots in this. Like there's a part where she runs into like the French dude's camp, and it's like it's all done in like one shot where she's fighting everyone. Um, it was like,
Yeah,
wow,
the
that would have
fight
taken a
choreography for
yeah,
this
that would
was
have taken a
significant.
lot of effort to do that, and it was like, yeah, that was cool. I really like the part where it might even be my favorite part in the movie. It doesn't even involve a predator, is when she's like sinking in that bog and she's trying to like throw her like hook to drag herself out. That was pretty suspenseful. It was
It
very
felt
well
you were
done.
just kind of like who on the edge of your seats. Like I said, I do feel like in terms of from scene to scene to scene, like I felt like each scene felt like for me, I was on the edge of my seat because I was just always like, what's gonna happen? And then the next scene answered what was gonna happen, but then they introduced a new question, which then like led to the next scene.
There's some great kill. There was a lot of even just parts when the predator's killing all those guys and it's like in the foggy woods. And the predator's like up in the like jumping through the treetops and stuff. It's
With the
like,
lasers, it's
yeah, like some of that was just like, wow, that was like very well done. And this most recent time I watched it, like I almost noticed the great cinematography even more, especially like kind of like the first half. It's like it's very well shot. But at the same time, it comes down to like the technical aspects of the movie is only one thing. It's like the story has to be moving, it has to be fun to watch, and it's just
true. They don't do that thing which I appreciated where like when it gets dark, suddenly the whole movie gets dark. I was able to see what was happening in the dark scenes on this film, which I appreciated in terms of cinematography. Because there's so many movies where like it gets dark and suddenly everybody's wearing black and I can't see what the hell's
yeah,
happening.
which is weird because I watched Last Voyage of the Demeter last night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was like, but the whole movie's so dark. It's like you can just see like a bit of a person's face, and but it,
Like you
which is
spent
funny.
so much money on production, you don't you want people to see it?
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually mentioned this to Adam last night. I remember like movies in the 70s, 80s. Like I remember when I was a kid, that was a thing people complained about movies being so dark. And then maybe it was kind of around the year 2000, maybe just because of technological advancements, that problem went away for like 20 years. But now it seems to be back. Now people are complaining about it again. It's somehow like we forgot how to light movies, but like I don't remember people complaining about dark movies in 2010. But all of a
No,
sudden
because
now, like a lot of the YouTube movie reviewers I watch, they're like It was so fucking dark you can't see what's happening.
For me,
Like,
I'm
why is
always
this
going
a
to put
thing?
the culprit as Batman Begins, or specifically The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight started that trend of like things being dark to the point where you can't see it. And I think The Dark Knight did it well, but a lot of imitators have just screwed it up and made it look worse.
Yeah, it just like yeah, like you said, if you put all this work into filming it, like don't you want and you could cheat it, right? You
Yep.
could have like I know it's nighttime, light it so I could see, and I'll use my imagination to imagine it as night. Like you
Or
don't
I'm
have to make it
sure all of
black.
this is like coloring put in after the fact. Color it so it's lighter. Like I don't need to feel the darkness encroaching on me. I want to see what's happening in the
Yeah.
movie.
I remember in The Witch, that movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I watched like the commentary and they were saying like, the first part where Tomlinson or whatever the girl's name is, like first talks to the devil goat, and then you could like see a guy walking behind her. He's supposed to be like the devil. And they said like they actually set deck that room and it looked great. But for whatever reason, it ended up being so dark you can't see anything except
Ah,
the face and a bit of the guy. And it's like, well, then why didn't you just like
why did you do all
crank
this
up the
work?
friggin' lights or something? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've started noticing it now where like, yeah, there's a lot of horror movies where you and part of me thinks it's like they're trying to like hide their shitty effects or something.
Yeah. It's a tool that can be used sometimes, and it's like a trend too. Like these things go in waves, I think.
But yeah, it's kind of annoying, and it's I think once it starts becoming like pop culture, where YouTube movie reviewers are bringing it up, like why is it so dark?
Then
That
things start to change,
yeah,
and then
you gotta
eventually it'll overcorrect in the other way, where things will be
yeah,
like extra bright, and will be just like my eyes are bleeding, and then it'll like correct back.
and that's why I like the movie Midsummer. I freaking love that movie because like every scene is in the bright sun. It's just like there's no darkness and like
And I like, honestly, if you make a horror movie specifically set entirely in the daytime, I respect you more because that takes more effort. You have to pay more attention to your frame and like actually tell a good story.
yeah, and trying to make something scarier during the bright sun is a little bit more difficult.
Hard, very hard.
But I think they're just like, well, we'll just make it so dark, and then we don't got to spend so much on the effects because we'll just cheat it by having quick cuts and it's all dark.
Exactly.
So you can piece together what's happening, but you can't actually see it. But it's like I don't want to be tricked into what
Into
I'm
watching
watching.
a
I just want to
movie.
be able to
No, and
see.
I feel like this movie did a good job of like towing that line.
Yeah, Prey was overall. I think there was one part where I know it was like kind of a bit dark, but yeah, I'm not going to hold that against it. And overall, and a lot of it happened in the day or in the
Yep.
fog. Um, so overall, like it was a very well done movie. And honestly, all these criticisms I have, like, it's not like you know, it's not enough to ruin the movie for me. It's still for a franchise that has some real piece of shit movies involved in it. This
Like
is like
the
a breath
Adrian
of fresh
Brody one. I still can't get the taste of the Adrian Brody one out of my mouth.
air. It's I'm just glad it's like, okay, maybe we're back on track. We'll have to see how Badlands goes, but if it's the same team making it, it's like I guess we can hope for
I
the
think
best.
it's the same director for sure, at the very least.
Yeah. So and then after that, well, who knows? Because I remember it's kind of especially after The Predator came out, there's a lot of things in the media about like this should basically kill the franchise. Like
Yep, yep.
stop making them, it's over with, and fans are like, don't make any more. And then they make another one, and it's like, oh, it's pretty damn good. So like, hopefully, this is the start of some
You're dead
research.
until you're alive again.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, I think we should wrap it up there. What's your final score? What would you give it on a scale of one
I'm
to
gonna
10?
give it a strong 8 to a light 9. That's what I'm
Ah,
gonna give.
nice. Cool. I'm sticking with that 6.7. So or
Love
six.
it.
Sorry. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.